have such sights to show you.
You are all going to die tonight.
Good evening, my sweet tortured souls, and welcome to the hotter than Satan's asshole in here today episode of Miss Violet's Underworld Deeper and Darker. It is warm today. Joining me, as always, my indentured manservant, the eternally damned, stuck with him forever, for better or for worse. It is the speaker, Jimmy Lee Clifford. How are you, honey?
I'm fine, and I found that I don't need to find that puzzle cube. I'm quite happy here now.
See,
It
when
took
you're
a while, but I'm quite happy now.
as someone once famously said, when you start to enjoy your nightmares, do they not themselves become your dreams?
Very wise words.
Maybe, maybe.
But I have got to ask, have you pissed off Crimson? Because it is too damned hot.
I think she has. I think she is coming for a visit. It is a little bit warm recently. But moving this episode swiftly on, we're going to listen to the screams of the damned from the comments section, starting with an episode from a fortnight ago. It is the Calico Crichton, the son of the Pertwee, the gap-toothed Tony Harris cowboy rootin' tootin' shooting and riding on the back of a pig himself, Mr. Tony Harris from the Retro Movie Zone. And on our vampire episode, he goes on to say, I need to get closer to read this. Hi guys, can't apologize enough for being late to the vampire party. Been one of those weeks, and this hot weather's not been helping. Damn right.
Better late than never, Tony.
Yes. Dracula from 1992. I think this was critically panned, but I really enjoyed it. It had a brilliant gothic feel to it, which I thought harkened.
Hearkened.
Harker. I think that pun was unintentional there by Tony.
I think it was.
Harken back to the early Hammer movies starring Cushing and Lee, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee. I can't for the life of me remember whether I've seen Interview with a Vampire. Need to grab a copy and take a look. If you can't remember watching it, Tony, go give it a watch. That's all I'm going to say. But if you can find the book, also track that down because I know you love a good book, Tony. So if you can find the book, get hold of that and give that a read after watching the film again, and you'll see what I mean. That like the book is just
it will do.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on. Really surprised the Lost Boys wasn't your number one pick. The two Coreys, Feldman and Hine, are both excellent, and I love Diane Weiss in this movie after seeing her in all those Woody Allen comedy movies. As for the soundtrack, just brilliant. I absolutely agree with you both, with both you and Jimmy, concerning Stranger Things being inspired by this 80s classic. I've only seen the first season of Stranger Things, but it has the Lost Boys stamped all over it. Great observation. Don't think I'll bother with the sequels, though.
Not from what I've heard.
Don't get me wrong, as much as I love the Lost Boys, and I didn't talk about this in the episode, but when I was in college and I got my first PlayStation 2, yes, I'm going back that far, and it had a built-in DVD function that you could use with the pad. One of my friends, who Lost Boys was his all-time favorite film, discovered that on the PlayStation 2 on the DVD player, you could set a start point and an end point, and it would just repeat where you'd set these 2 points. So he lined it up so that it was the start of it was just as they were gearing up for the final battle, and then it would end as the credits started to play. So that last half an hour was on play for 6 hours. And it kind of destroyed my love for the film a little bit due to repetition. But on one-off viewings here or there, I can still enjoy it for what it is. But that ending, because I've seen it so much, I know everything that's coming, I just kind of switch off a little bit there now, unfortunately, due to things.
A
pass.
little bit of Pavlov's dog, like you've been trained to fall asleep there.
Yeah, pretty much. My brain's been trained to once it gets to that part of the film, just
Yeah.
so But I didn't put it as my number one pick purely because of that repetition. That was the only reason I didn't put it in my number one slot.
Me, it was down to literally the fact we're doing horror films, and as a with that as a horror film, 30 Days of Night just
Oh, it just edged it ever so slightly further. Yeah,
it was like that's a horror film.
that
Then
truly was a
like
horror
Lost
film.
Boys is great.
But going on to continue Tony's comment, because he does talk about 30 Days of Night here.
Yeah.
30 Days of Night, I don't think I've seen, but saying that, I was having a conversation with a colleague at work and she recommended this one to me, and I promised I'd check it out, which I will, based on hers, yours, and Jimmy's recommendation. I have to say that trailer looks bloody awesome. Great episode as always, guys, and looking forward to the next one, which I believe is Monster Mashup. Can't wait for that one. Talking of Monster Mashups, how about the wonderful Abbott and Costello comedies meets The Wolfman, meets The Mummy, etc. And one of the original Universal monster movies, House of Dracula, which featured no less than four monsters: Dracula, the Wolfman, and two others I can't remember. They can't have been good then.
Look into that. Those may come up later down the line.
Until next time, I'll say toodle pip.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about those ones, but we decided that because of their age,
Yes.
because of the time that they were made, they're very much their own disconnected thing. The monster mashups
Yeah.
that we sort of focused on were more these monsters in a, for its time, modern lens. Those older films are very much time capsules of the
Yeah.
made. Not that they're bad. Honestly, I've seen most of them, and they are really good films. But we just felt that because of the nature of our show, we're more horror. Okay,
Yeah.
they were more
Honestly.
they were more comedies. I mean, Abbott and Costello were definitely straight up comedies. They were a comedy duo, like Laurel and Hardy. So maybe we'll dip our toe into those at a later date.
Yeah.
Maybe if we get enough demand from the tortured souls over there, maybe
Yeah.
we'll cover those.
We may come back round to those. We did have a look into it. We weren't sure which way to take this show in its newer format.
Yes, we're still finding our feet down here.
We're still finding the feet, refinding the feet,
I
aren't
mean,
we?
we're going through the piles of limbs daily trying to find our feet.
Yes.
We find arms, legs, a couple of eyeballs, a few
On
personality
occasion.
traits.
On occasion, there's the odd spleen. There's
Yeah,
always a spleen hanging around.
all those discarded bits from the celebrities end up down here as well.
Yeah. It's a plastic surgeon's dream down here.
Mm-hmm. It's like a grab bag,
Yeah. We occasionally see them coming in, just having a like, oh, can we have that? Yeah, you can have that.
Moving on to the next comment, and it comes from the man, the myth, the beard, the Ginger Ninja JK, and he goes on to say, Van Helsing, fantastic. Not fantastic, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Makes my mask twitch.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha, just kidding. It's a fun movie, and I liked a lot of the aspects, particularly Kate Beckinsale in a tight corset. Well, of course you would like.
Who doesn't like that?
But yeah, the CGI is early 2000s, and it shows. That was my biggest. I said this quite a lot in the episode. That was my biggest complaint on a rewatch. That I did enjoy it when it first came out, but watching it now and knowing in the back of my head that there is better CGI out there, and I get it. It was of its time.
We
It's
have a
still-
visitor in the form of Loki.
Hello. Hello, don't mind everyone. Jimmy's just showing us his pussy. But anyway, yeah, so that was my big complaint with Van Helsing, was just the CGI. The story was good, the action was good, the music was phenomenal. It was just the CGI just gave me a massive disconnect. And continuing on with that, and as Jimmy said, Frankenstein looks good, and in my opinion, still does even
Yeah.
now.
I still think the Frankenstein looks better, but I reckon they put more practical
Well,
aspects into that, and I'm not sure. I have to look
obviously
at it,
because
to be
it
honest.
was obviously because it was obviously an actor who was
Yeah,
on set. The makeup they used for Frankenstein and then enhanced it with the CGI for like the electricity in his brain and stuff like that.
yeah,
That wasn't so egregious to me. Those moments, because they were so small, even on a big 40-inch screen, the detail in this, because it was so small and it was so quick, you didn't have time to take it in. Oh, that's CGI. But with the werewolf transformations, the vampire it's there right on and it's like,
and it dates.
it wasn't good for me. But he does go on to say there was definitely a lot of thought put into the ideas behind the sets, costumes, and weapons and look. Yeah, I mean, as we said during the episode, the sets are great. The weapons, I love the steampunky gas.
Well, yeah, I did like the way they went with that.
I loved that aspect of it, and I think that given its age, it either maybe needs a sequel or it's just straight up remake at this
Yeah.
point. I think if they
For
were
a
to,
while, and that was trivia I came across, they actually kept the set and they were going to do a TV series or potentially a sequel and that and reuse the set. And then
it fell through.
I can't remember what the reason was, but for one reason and another,
Never happened. Yeah,
it never happened. So
I
it wouldn't
think
surprise me with the budget that it had, it would maybe potentially get an update.
I think at the time Hugh Jackman was neck deep in Wolverine MC, well,
Yeah,
not
oh,
MCU, X-Men Fox Universe films.
yeah.
And Kate Beckinsale was chugging along with the Underworld franchise and some. She did the film Click with Adam Sandler. She's done a few other films, so I think it just come down to both the main. Well, I rumored she was supposed to return, but Hugh Jackman was just busy. He was a
Yeah.
busy actor at that time, and he had his skin cancer.
And then really, he never got any less busy. He's still busy.
Yeah, and plus
And he's probably an extra pretty penny now.
yeah, and he had all of his his skin cancer stuff that he had to go through. So I mean, the guy was either busy or in treatment. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But
Not.
continuing with JK's comment, The Monster Squad. Yes, fuck yes. This movie is so much fun. If you watch this as a kid, didn't you just want this to be your life? Ha 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 ha. Yes, I wore the tape out on this film. I watched it so much. I memorized all the jokes, all the punchlines. I was in love with this film. And I said this in the episode, the fact that it never got a sequel or a remake or anything like that, and it kind of flew right under the radar up until sort of the last 10 years where people have really started to go, I remember that film. I'm one of these people who, for my entire life, I've been every time I go into like a DVD shop or anything like that, I'm looking out for it. And I've never seen it, never found it. And then it pops up on Amazon Prime one night, and I'm like, oh, I cancelled all plans, watched that with my special headset on, and I cranked the volume all the way up. I wanted to feel like I was in that film. And I did. For that one night, I really did, folks. So, Jimmy, go on. What your thoughts with
I like that one. I mean, like I say, it was Confessions with Jimmy on that one again. It's like I remembered briefly, it was on in the background, or I was watching it, but it wasn't a film I was taking in at the time. So it's like when I rewatch it, it's like I remember this. What? It's like that tweak, but then just watching it for the first time, it's still
holds up. Still holds up. And again, practical effects, people.
Practical effects, they do hold up.
It holds up better than CGI. Holds up better than CGI, hands down, every time.
Yeah, I'm starting out on that bandwagon with her.
Anyway, moving on. Cabin in the Woods, a real perfect horror movie that subverts the common themes of the genre. I could rewatch this movie any day of the week. Awesome picks and awesome vid. Thank you very much, JK. Yeah, Cabin in the Woods, like I said to Jimmy going into it, it's like, it's not really a monster mashup, but it is. But it isn't, but it is. So
she sold it to me. Yeah, she sold it to me at the beginning. I was like, well, we kind of behind the camera, we kind of needed a third film to fill an extra little bit of a slot.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm interested. Then I started watching it, and you just saw I was, hang on, I was tracking it.
You're
And
like,
then
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait. What have they got?
wait,
Why are they?
where did that, you know, but it is, like I say, there is
It
that
is
one.
that is the best part about Cabin in the Woods is it takes those established tropes and
Yeah,
it uses them to fuck with you as the audience. It's like, oh, I know, I've seen this film before. I know what's. Wait a minute, wait, what? Like
hang
you expect it to go one way because you've seen all these horror movies, but no, the film just goes, oh, wait a minute, what's this happening over here? Oh shit,
on,
now
take
you're
a
fucked.
nice swift right
Yeah,
foot.
like
We're going to switch it back over to the left here.
yeah, it really does
It
take some
does subvert.
fight.
I think it basically did the double bluff dusk till dawn trick on that one.
I
I think
think
it
this
took
one's more of a
that,
double. This one is a double bluff followed by a triple and then a quadruple bluff
yeah,
by the ending.
like here's a royal flush.
Yeah, like you get to that absolute ending moment right before the credits roll, and you're like, wait, what?
This is one I will, like I said, I've only watched it the once at the moment, but this is one I will revisit
Oh
simply because
yes,
now I know the twists and things. It's like I want to see if you can spot them earlier.
yes. Wait, look for the clues.
Like, oh, I
Look for
was
the
following
clues
it,
and
but can you
whatnot.
spot the actual twist a bit earlier?
But right, that is it for the screams of the damned. Time to get on with tonight's episode. We are going to take a time machine back to the year 1984. We're going to visit the world's most polluted town. We're taking a trip to Tromaville. We're going to fall in a vat of toxic waste and become hideously deformed creatures of superhuman size and strength. We are talking, of course, the Toxic Avenger slash Crusader franchise.
I don't think I can book it.
Yeah. So up first, because we're talking about this, folks, because the remake that was made a couple of years ago, and even on Wikipedia, it says that it was released in 2023. No, it wasn't. It was made in 2023. It's getting a
It's not.
release this year. So we're talking about the original, not the remake, although we will talk about thoughts and feelings on that right at the end.
Yes.
But we are going to talk about the first four films and the accompanying kids' cartoon, which was kind of part of a fad in the late 80s where let's take this really violent R-rated film, as they say in America, R-rated film over here, 18-rated film, and turn it into a Saturday morning kids cartoon. Rambo got one, RoboCop got one, and so did the Toxic Avenger in the form of the Toxic Crusaders, which had an environmental theme and predated Captain Planet, but we're getting ahead of ourselves there. We're going to go straight back, talk about the original film released April 14th, 1984, a budget of just 500,000. Very small budget. Box office numbers I do not have because I searched the internet for a good half an hour on multiple different sites for the box office numbers. There are none. There's no box office numbers. The only number I found was that in its first weekend of release, it made $140,000 in its first weekend. Outside of that, there's no other numbers. This possibly could be because it comes from the Trauma Company. And they are Trauma Entertainment. And they are an independent film studio that was established in 1974 by I can't remember the names now. Shit. Michael Hers and Lloyd Kaufman. I was thinking Andy Kaufman for a fucking reason. I don't know why.
I just said Lloyd Kaufman. I actually helped you.
Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers started Trauma Entertainment in 1974, and they are famous for low budget, schlocky B movie type films. But they definitely have a market. They are still going now. They actually have a TV app, Trauma Now, available for $4.99 per month. No cheap plug, no sponsorship there. Just show Trauma some love. I love Trauma, even if they are rude, crude, and offensive, but that's kind of part of the appeal. But anyway, The Toxic Avenger, the very first film. I grew up with this film. I watched the cartoon that made me aware of the film, because there was a shop here in the town I live in called John Menzies. Upstairs, they had an extensive video library. And I would always go up there because that was where they kept the toys as well. Like these 18 rated horror films in one corner and then toys for the kids in the other corner. Bit of an odd thing to do. So while looking around at the video cassettes, this one caught my eye, The Toxic Avenger. And this is pre-internet, everyone. This is pre-internet. This is like 1990. I was like 5, 6 years old. And I remember seeing The Toxic Avenger. And I was like, is that something to do with the Toxic Crusader in my little child brain?
Yeah.
Then when I was allowed to watch films and I seen that it was listed on one of the Sky channels, I asked my parents to record it. And the general rule in my house was if they watched it and they thought it was okay, they would let me watch it. And my dad actually said, I'm only going to let you watch this because although it is graphically violent, it is so stupid and over the top. There's no way it could give you nightmares. So have at it. And he was right. He was right. I was laughing my ass off the entire way through. This is a horror comedy superhero movie.
It is for a very
niche market.
Very
Very
niche
niche
market. I am yet to find out truly if I am in that market or not, because I did have this week.
we will do the premise, and then we will give you Jimmy's first thoughts on it. So, the premise alone it's kind of got an environmental message about it, and I know that Lloyd Kaufman has said previously that the idea of the Toxic Avenger came about because in the early 1980s, there was this big thing about companies dumping waste in public areas and this kind of stuff. And toxic waste was a kind of a fear word that had been thrown around a lot in the 1980s. So he was like, why not use that to sort of tell a mess, to make a horror film, to make a film?
Yeah.
And the Toxic Avenger was born from that idea. So the film follows Melvin Third, a 98-pound weakling who works at the local gym as the mop boy. He sort of comes into conflict because he's just inept and stupid with this gang. Ran by a guy called Bozo, who's always going, I'm stressing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something about him a little bit later on because it's like, did they predict something in 1984 here?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, he runs afoul of this gang. They decide to play a prank on him. And it goes horribly wrong. He dives out of a window while wearing a pink tutu, falls into a vat of toxic waste, and then he bursts into flames, runs away, and becomes the Toxic Avenger. Hideously deformed, one eye's down over here somewhere, and he's got a crooked face, he's all lumpy and bumpy. But he's super strong, and he's got these things called traumatons that compel him to destroy evil people. And it's kind of his quest to sort of get revenge on the gang that did it to him. It's part revenge story. The first part of it is definitely a revenge story. But then the town start to view him as a hero because he's getting rid of bad people. The town's becoming a nice place to live.
It's almost a the hot foot for the greater good.
yeah. So he sort of goes from being this monster to this hero, and he falls in love, comes into conflict with the mayor. They didn't set up sequel bait, but there was sequels. There was varying results of sequels, but for me, we'll get to them. But for me, these are definitely masterclass films in how to work within your budget. Even if the effects are a little bit wonky, it shows what can be done on a shoestring budget, like how to maximize what you've got. And I love this film. So I'm going to throw it over to Jimmy, who has mixed feelings.
Yes, that is the best. For reasons of this nature, I have actually asked Violet there, we are not scoring these like we have with the previous entries, simply because I feel I potentially would unfairly score them.
I'm still scoring them.
That's fine. You can crack on. It is your show. I am merely the co-host. That's fine. But they are for a very niche market. They are
Yes.
complete shoestring budget.
Yes.
They are literally. I think at one point I commented it's basically a Tom Savini kind of esque masterclass on the special effects. It's like you've got literally a melon to use. Like you need to make this happen in the film, and your resource is a melon. Make it work. Right? It's that it is like total schlock. It's made in the 80s. Troma did do certain other adult films at one point. That kind of shows in these. That kind of shows in these films to some degree.
Yes, in certain scenes, it's very much like, is this just softcore?
It's almost like they're hailing back to they know where they've come from.
Is this just softcore at this point? You know,
Yeah, it is a little bit of
softcore.
It is very comedy. I think
comedy superhero movie.
It
with
is literally
an environmental underlay.
It is literally take the most random ass premise,
yes,
and act your ass off and run with it.
I mean, the one thing I will say about
mixed.
The one thing I will say about this film, and we talked about this briefly the other day when we watched it, there are those slightly cartoonish moments to it, but overall, it keeps a sort of realistic tone.
Yeah, semi. It's overacted to the. It's like literally the actors have been given a. This is the character profile.
Oh, I said this,
and they are literally going whole ham into it.
I said this before. I think the general gist with the characters is they were told this is your character, but make it like an overblown stereotype of this
literally
character.
Overblow this character.
Yeah, every character is an overblown stereotype of an established trope of these kind of things. But carry on, Jimmy. Your thoughts. What did you think of this film in 2025? I'd love to hear this.
It was a difficult watch.
It was a difficult watch, yeah.
It was a very difficult watch. But I am tempted to revisit this and maybe try and...
It's got its moments.
It's got its moments. It's got its jokes.
One thing I will say for clarity, everyone, is Jimmy and myself, for the purpose of this episode, we actually watched the Japanese cut.
Yes.
About 10 minutes longer. And we actually joked while watching it. It's like, you can tell this is the Japanese cut because there's about 5 minutes in the middle that's just reused footage with a sound, with music played, like a hot song.
They just overblow the scene and it goes on for quite. They are literally.
Yeah, at one point it was kind of becoming uncomfortably long that they were focusing on this one bit. I'm like,
I'm not. It's almost like you're laughing because you're not sure if it's funny or not anymore.
Yeah.
It is pulling that, and I'm not sure. I think it's done on purpose for that reason.
If you're gonna go and give it a rewatch, I would definitely suggest go back and just watch the standard release version because it's 10 minutes shorter. It's not got that looped recycled footage bit in the middle, and it just flows a bit better. So I'd say go back and watch
the first viewing. It was difficult because it is like it's practical effects.
Gore.
It is practical effects on an absolute shoestring.
But the transformation sequence, though.
The transformations, it's still a good scene there. I feel it's still a good scene watching it back.
It's not American Werewolf. It's not American Werewolf in London.
No, it's not on par with that, but it definitely. I think it's taken a couple of bits
with the arm.
Certain bit. I think with whatever shoestring they have, they use it
wisely.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like when you see the effects in this film,
the more I sort of think about this film now, it's actually not. It was enjoyable. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy some of the jokes and that. There are parts of the gore and certain scenes that just sort of.
Even as a gorehound, there are certain deaths in this film that make me go.
Yeah. I think some of it is. It's made way back when. and some of the things that are put in there, they're meant as jokes. And for the time, it would have been like
Yes, for its time.
for its time, it would have been completely unthought of as that would happen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, due to the passage of time and certain rowdy teenagers, certain rowdy various things, certain scenes have maybe
The thing with Bozo,
aged
we'll
poorly
cover
because
this.
of real life events.
Right, we'll cover this now. We'll cover this now. Bozo.
Yeah, one of
There's
his main hobbies.
when 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 the Toxic Avenger finally gets his hands on him and he's kind of getting him to confess and everything, he basically turns around and says that he behaves the way he does because he's stressed, he's got problems, and this, that, and the other. And I sat and watched that, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of the more thuggish types that are going around. Like, oh, I've got life problems. You don't know what
I've
it's
got
like.
no problem. Yeah, no,
That
yeah. There's better ways of dealing with them.
and that character for me all of a sudden became a little bit more. You were supposed to be a piss take, not a prediction. You were
Yes.
supposed to be that like I said, the stereotype of the thug who blames his behavior on his mental state. It was meant to be a piss take, not a fucking prediction of how criminals
Yeah,
behave
yeah.
nowadays.
It is almost like we're going to that
Oh,
meme
I
of
get away with it because I'm making bad now.
1984 was a warning story, not an instruction manual.
Yes, yes. But moving this on, would you recommend this film to anyone in 2025? I already think I know the answer on this one.
You think you do? I'm going to say yes.
Is that purely because the remake's coming out?
No,
Oh, fair enough. If you want to give
no. I think simply talking about it and sort of digesting it a bit from when I watched it the other night. Yeah, you know what? If it would, I would probably suggest it to somebody I know who has a darker streak sense of humor.
Oh, you've
Uh,
definitely got to have a dark sense of humor watching
you've
this.
definitely got to have a dark streak sense of humor,
Yeah, yeah,
and somebody who might be younger and wanting to watch some 80s films, or somebody of the similar age who wants a bit of a trip down nostalgia lane.
yeah. I mean, if you remember the
And
original cartoon,
you know, I'm sort of viewing it a little bit like my music collection in that, you know, like I have got my Riverside, I've got my Steve Vai, I've got my Joe Satriani, Kate Bush, Metallica, all the top end stuff, and then I've got the Spice Girls in there
right?
and Britney Spears. You know, because after so many hours of listening to one particular type of track, you want to go and listen to something else and just freshen it back up for yourself.
But back onto the
So I think that that's where I view this film. If you want to go and watch a really good 80s or really good film now, maybe go and occasionally watch something that's a bit more schlocky.
right. Moving it on.
But moving it on.
This for me is right.
This is
Oh,
where we get
I forgot.
really
I do have
difficult.
visual aids. I do have the Toxic Avenger on Blu-ray,
Toxic Avenger.
and it does come with the original poster artwork, which I absolutely love. I love the colors. I love the picture of Toxie.
Yeah.
It makes him look very patriotic and very hero-esque, even though he's an ugly motherfucker.
Yeah.
Although in some ways, I think the poster does kind of. I mean, that one's slightly better because it still hides his face.
Yeah.
On that one, you see his face straight away, so it kind of spoils it because the film does a good job of hiding it.
Yeah, it does hide his.
Oh, before we move on, I'm going to give the Toxic Avenger, the first one, 4.5 bloody mops to the face out of 5. Moving on. Moving it on now.
Scoring this week, folks.
Released on February 24th, 1989, a budget of 2.5 million, with a box office take. This is painful for them. 792,000. Sorry, 709. Yeah, 792,000 take at the box office. Fumbled my words really badly.
Yeah, I did actually. Can you
came
repeat the first part?
That
I'm
came
sorry.
that came nowhere near close to recouping its budget.
No.
Toxic Avenger Part 2. 5 years later, very, very different film.
Yes.
Tonally, actors, character names, everything completely different. In this one, in the first film, his girlfriend's name is Sarah.
Yeah.
In the second film, his girlfriend's name is Claire. She's blind in both, thankfully,
It's still technically the same character.
but not.
It's just, but for some reason the name's changed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Melvin himself, the Toxic Avenger, known as Toxie, but Melvin goes from being known as Melvin Third to Melvin Junko.
Yeah.
Why? No one knows.
The only thing I can think of is because of the cartoon.
No, see, because this predates the cartoon. This is
Is it
1989.
predated? Wow.
The cartoon
I wasn't sure on the release.
until 91.
Unfortunately, the release date slipped for me. On that.
I think what happened was they wanted to make this one more over the top.
And more schlocky.
And as a result, it became more cartoony. And the cartoon that came out a few years later in 91, you can tell it definitely has taken a lot of its elements from the second, third film, but we're gonna cover those now.
We'll get to that.
Right. The one bit of trivia I do know is that the second and third film were basically shot at the same time because they shot too much footage for the second film.
So
They decided to shoot just a bit more footage and make a third film out of it. So it should have been one long film with different bits happening.
and with these two sequels, there's even joke references that the next one's coming.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But the premise of this one is that Toxie has wiped out all the evil in Tromaville. It's become the most peaceful, most green, environmental place to live. And he's bored shitless. There's no crime to fight. There's nothing. He's bored out of his fucking brains. He's seeing a psychiatrist 6 times a week. He helps out at a center for the blind. But then one day, the evil Apocalypse Inc. show up in Tromaville, set to take over the town and pollute it back up like it used to be. And through some manipulations, they end up getting Toxie to go to Japan because he's looking for his missing father. And yeah, I think it was just Troma's excuse to film in Japan.
Yeah.
This film for me, although I do enjoy it for its stupidity alone, it gets a giggle out of me just of how absurd it goes with some of the kills, if you can call it that. I mean, the basketball one, that's all I'm saying. The basketball one right at the beginning, that's when you know, from the minute you start that film, you just know you're in for a slapsticky, stupid cartoon, live action cartoon of a movie. It's basically Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons in the real world. It's cartoon-esque violence with all the blood and guts and gore that you'd expect from reality. Like the bit that still to this day boggles my head, the absurdity of it. He breaks the head off of a swordfish and then strings it up like it's a freaking check. This film,
I'm gonna cut you off slightly here because there's Confessions with Jimmy.
Jimmy, go for it.
Confessions with Jimmy. I've only watched the first 10 minutes. Due to life events that were unforeseen, I haven't actually watched the rest of it.
I have the visual aid here. I had the second one on Blu-ray. Like I said, it's good. It's good, just stupid fun. But
From the first 10 minutes I've watched alone, this one does seem more
absurd. It's much more.
It does, yeah. It does seem, because, like I say, I've watched. I don't know if it was the first 10. I watched the first little portion. I said to you this week, it's going to be a struggle for me to watch certain things.
Your sound's gone, Jimmy.
And I'm gone. Oh, tech difficulties.
Continue.
Is it back?
I can hear you now. Carry on.
No, it's literally.
Jimmy on his
I don't know how much of the film I watched. I definitely saw the basketball.
Yeah.
And from looking at it alone, and I've seen certain parts and clippings because of 3, and because they always put what previously happened.
Yeah. Just to extend the running time. Just to extend.
And there's the fish nose.
Yeah. That's stupid and makes me giggle.
That
The bit that he actually slaps down on his nose, even when they take it off and it's right up the
tail.
you can see it's the tail part, so it should not be that shape. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes me laugh because in my brain the physics of it go, that's the wrong shape, but it's still funny because it's dude with a fish nose. It's fucking funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that's from 2, even though I saw it at the beginning of 3.
Yeah, but
Okay, they extended the time slightly that way.
we'll get through this one quickly then. Jimmy, you only watched the first 10 minutes, so it's a no recommendation from you on this one.
I can't comment on a recommendation at this.
For
I'm
me,
probably going to go and watch the rest of it,
right.
to be honest.
For me, like I said, I enjoy this one for the good, dumb fun that it is. It is stupid, but it's stupid, but it's entertaining. I will say that. So I won't score it as high as the first one. I'd give it 2 fish noses out of 5. It's not great. It's really not great, but for good dumb fun, for switch your brain off, lying in bed ill kind of entertainment, you got the flu or something. Put this on, you'll get a giggle out of you at the very fucking least. That will move us quickly on to part 3, which was released. I shit you not, like part 2, February 24th, 1989. Part 3, November 24th, 1989. It came out literally 8 months later.
Yeah.
Like they were like, get that out the fucking door.
Yeah, it's trauma. They've got that much material, you know.
This one had a budget of I'm trying to find the budget now actually. Budget was 500,000. The box office was 336,000. So it didn't even recoup its budget. Running theme here. I think Toxic Avenger is the most successful, unsuccessful franchise there is. Each film is done appallingly, but they're loved.
Yeah. No, like I think that is literally down to what I said. It's that niche market.
What black magic gods has Lloyd Kaufman been praying to for this level of success on a film that consistently flops?
I'm sure he's reading some H.P. Lovecraft and he's found a way to
There's got to be some sort of otherworldly shit going on. But part 3 is subtitled The Last Temptation of Toxie. And the storyline is there's been found a cure for blindness. They can cure Toxie's girlfriend of her blindness, but it's a very expensive operation. Toxie tries his best to get the money, but everything he does, he screws up one way or another. This one, again, feels very much to me like an episode of the cartoon with just more gore and violence. It really does.
It's almost like a live-action version of the cartoon.
I think part 3 for me is the one that is closest to a live-action version of the cartoon series because the storyline, the premise, the idea of it all feels very cartoon.
It's
so Toxie, well, Apocalypse Inc. In a ploy to finally get one over on Toxie, decide if we can't beat him, let's employ him. They pay for the operation, but he has to work for the Apocalypse Inc. And he sort of slowly becomes the bad guy for a little bit, and then he goes through this whole, I've seen the error of my way, and he goes through these challenges.
He's narrated as well a little. That detracted for me.
Yeah, and this one for me is the worst one in the 4 films. I'd give this one turning back into Melvin out of 5 for me. Even on rewatches, this is the one that I enjoy the least.
Honestly, if I was to give you my viewpoint on this one, this is the one I entered in on due to the fact you have 1 and 2 on DVD. And because it's 4 films, I watched these. I believe they're all available on Prime currently.
All of them are, yes. All of them, yeah.
I dipped in, and this is where my start point was. This film, confessions with Jimmy, I literally fell asleep. Not once, not twice, but 3 times through this.
That's my point.
And I actually sort of rewind and this one was a very difficult watch. This
is the weakest one out of the 4. Definitely the weakest one.
I'm confession with that. I am yet to watch 2. I will watch and finish watching 2. but I was finding
Two's
that.
better than three. Two's better than three. I would definitely say that.
So I'm going to try and push through that one. One, certainly, it's given me some.
Yeah.
I like two, but we'll get on to four because that's where
But
things
right.
started with this
Number
watch.
three.
So
Number three, then we'll move it straight on to number four. Number three, honestly, it's not worth it.
no, I wouldn't even recommend it.
Moving on, then, we jump forward to November 2nd, 2001. Big gap. The Toxic Avenger Part 4, or as it's better known as Citizen Toxie, the Toxic Avenger 4.
Yeah,
This one, the the budget shows for the time that it came out, 2001. Budget was 500,000 yet again, and much like the first one, could not find any box office numbers on this one. Sorry if you can hear the noises
have
of the
they come for you?
outside. I have my window open to keep it cool in here, and an ambulance or whatever has just gone past.
They
I
haven't
do
come for you
apologize,
then.
folks.
Found the secret entrance to the hellhole.
Jesus Christ, I do apologize, everybody. Right.
Excuse us on that
Got the
one.
Toxic Avenger 4 and like, shit, we got arrested for talking about it. But yeah, no box office. For me, this one, I love the way it opens because it has narration by the one, the only, the legend of the comic book world, Stan Lee, doing an opening narration that
The late great.
talks about the first film. He goes, yeah, then there was the second and third films, but they weren't very good. Sorry about that. Some of themselves even got Stanley to apologize for them to the audience. Like 2 and 3 weren't great. Sorry about that. This one is the true sequel. And yes, it is a true sequel. It goes back to having the right character names for the right people. Melvin is now Melvin Third again. His girlfriend is now Sarah again. You know, everything's kind of been put back the way it should have been. But the budget on this one definitely fucking shows.
Oh yes.
With the costume, with the look of Topsy from compared to the first one to this one, because they're meant to be sequels to each other. This one's meant to follow the first one.
But it's been released in 2001.
He definitely
because in one way it kind of looks better, and then the other way
he looks too shiny and too waxy for my life.
Yes.
In the first one, it looked like skin. Not gonna lie, his bumpy head actually looked like somebody's mutated head.
Yeah.
In this one, it kind of looked a little bit like a baked potato or possibly a raisin.
Just shoved on top.
Yeah, like a little, like just I think it was the way it was painted. It was there was too much brown, and
it was either something to do with the mask itself,
yeah,
or
it
was the lighting.
I don't know, but this film sets up its premise of it's a direct sequel. The diaper mafia are attacking the Tromaville school for the extra special. I'm not going to touch that subject with a barge pole on fucking YouTube.
That's very dated, folks.
Yes.
To have.
Yes. He's accompanied, Toxie shows up to stop them because they plan to blow up the school. He's assisted by his sidekick, Lardass.
Yeah.
Which is just I'm not even going to go there either with that one because that one could get offensive real quick.
Yeah.
And again, that's the 2001. It's over 20 years old. It's dated to balls, but just go with it.
Just run with this one, folks.
But the explosion happens, and it's the longest 5 seconds I've ever come. It's like 5 seconds that lasts about 5 minutes.
It's the type of 5 seconds that Acme would produce for Wile E. Coyote.
But anyway, the explosion happens, and somehow it rips a fabric in reality, and Toxie is sent into an alternate reality in Amortville, Troma spelt backwards.
Yeah.
And in his place in Tromaville is his evil doppelganger. He's not the Toxic Avenger. Oh, no. He's the Noxic Offender. Which I mean,
it is almost like they took a little bit of a reference from the original Star Trek with Mirror Mirror on this one.
Because he's got the floppy little bit of hair, and yeah. But for me, this one, Not great, not bad. Better than 2 and 3? Fuck yes. Worthy follow up to number one? Some aspects, not all of them. The one thing I will say this film has in spades, though, is self-referential cameos to other Troma films and properties, which this is one of those films where if you were a long-time Troma fan and you've watched a lot of their films, just background stuff, you'll be like, yeah, I see what they're doing here. It's like a who's who of Troma characters.
Even with the featuring of Kabuki Man.
Sergeant Kabuki Man, which has its own film, and I fucking love that film because it's daft. It's swiftly playing off stupid entertainment, but not only do you have the who's who of Troma, you also have some cameos from some real world kind of icons. Playing the mayor of the town in this new perfect version of Tromaville is none other than the can't say the word here on YouTube, but the star of a certain X-rated type of film, Ron Jeremy, as the mayor of the town. You also have a cameo from Corey Feldman as Toxie's girlfriend's gynecologist.
Yeah, but the best one,
Lemmy.
Lemmy.
If you are a rock and roll fan and you are a Motorhead fan, Lemmy did kind of have a bit of a relationship with Troma. He popped up in a fair few films, and if I remember correctly, their film Romeo and Juliet is basically narrated by Lemmy. It's Lemmy reciting Shakespeare.
Yeah.
If that's not something to love, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Toxic Avenger Part 4, I watched it not when it first come out, because it was quite difficult to get hold of over here, but I did end up watching it. I was like, I like it better than 2 and 3, but it's not a scratch on the first one. So, Jimmy, over to you. Toxic Avenger 4 in 2025. What do you thought?
This is where I started to, like, after watching 3. This one didn't, I did have to watch it in 2 parts, but that
Your signal's going, Jimmy. You're having tech difficulties again. Hold on, let me pause, folks. Sorry about that. Technical issues, everyone. Jimmy has a laptop that's powered by coal.
Yeah, sadly. We're working on that.
About Toxic Avenger Part 4 and the fact that Lemmy cameos in it in fucking true Lemmy.
Yeah, no. I think that's
so your thoughts on the Toxic Avenger Part 4?
Right, so after I watched 3, I've now watched 1, and I did say I'd recommend 1. I'd recommend this one. I'll get back to people on number 2, but I would probably recommend this one as well, because this one, if you're going to watch that one, skip 2, skip 3, go straight directly to 4. Yeah.
You have to wait now. I need to get a drink.
I'm having tech difficulty again. This is going to be a weird episode, folks. Sorry.
Okay, we're going to wrap this one up soon.
Apologies on the tech difficulty. They happen to the best of us. Tony knows that.
Let's just cut to the shit. Number 4 in 2025. Would you recommend it?
It took me a bit to get into, but then I realised this thing knows what it is.
Yeah, it leans into that angle of just being stupid movie. Sounds going again, Jim.
I do not.
Sorry for more technical difficulties there, folks. Right. So, number 4, would you recommend it in 2025? Yes or no?
I would. Yes, I would. Right. I would do that one. This one leans into what it is.
Yes.
So once I got past the first initial sort of thing, and I could see this is you take it for what it is.
Yes.
and lean with it.
Yes. Right then, that leaves us. I guess like jump back to 1991. We're going to talk about the Toxic Crusaders cartoon, as we mentioned at the start of this episode. Now, this for me was just it hit at the right time. The Ninja Turtles were kind of around still at the time. It was only one season wonder of like 13 odd episodes, but it should have been picked up. It should have gone on much, much longer. But this to me is just watching it back now. There's a lot of jokes that probably shouldn't have been in a cartoon aimed at children on a Saturday morning.
That was I found.
I know that a lot of families will sit down and watch TV in the morning, and to keep the parents entertained, you have to have a certain amount of like the jokes that the adults will get, but they will go over the kids' heads, but not too much. But this, for me, while watching this back, the amount of times that they threaten to kill people, they threaten because usually in shows like this, it's like I will destroy you. In this, it's like I'm going to kill them. It's like, wait,
Who? This guy's going to straight up kill you.
yeah, yeah. So, but for me, it was very enjoyable. Absolutely weird, just off the wall. The fourth wall breaks. I love the fourth wall breaks in this show.
Yeah.
Psycho, the bad guy character Psycho, who pretty much sums up the plot of the show. Like, oh, but what if this happens? And then the main bad guy, Dr. Killermoff, is like, don't be ridiculous, that'll never happen. And that's exactly
And then it
what
happens.
happens. But this show was supported by a toy line back in the 1990s. I had a fair few of them. I had Toxie, Dr. Killermoff, Headbanger, Major Disaster. I had the big surfboard thing that had the
Yeah.
toxic waste cans for wheels and all that kind of stuff. The big gimmick with these toys was slime. They had like some sort of slime feature to them, like Toxie. You poured slime into his mop and then pushed it down, and it oozed out the top of his mop and things like that. I mean, good enough premise, I suppose.
I remember telling you I had No Zone and I had Jungle.
Yes, yes. Psycho was
Absolutely.
the one that nobody seemed to buy. Short, fat, dumpy little character. Nobody bought him. But on that lines, though, the company Trick or Treat Studios are actually doing re-releases of those original toys, and it was just revealed at Toy Fair this year that they are actually going to release prototype figures that never actually saw a release. So if you have those older original figures, because they are still in scale, if you have a full original Toxic Crusaders collection, you could buy these and add these to your old set to fill out those spaces of figures that they never had. And the first one they're doing is Mayor Grody, who was prototyped and shown in toy catalogs but never got to release. So that's a little bit of trivia for you there. But Jimmy, your thoughts on the cartoon? Much like myself, you bought this one when you were younger.
Right. So when I watched it when I was younger, I mean, this thing still used, alone is still using among my family because it's just that toxic, yeah, that comes up the body, it gets used, and we know the reference. I didn't know they were adult films at the time. I'm getting as we discussed.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, the cartoon. Much back, like you say, a conversation probably happening in the background. Like, there's adult jokes in this, Mom, and he won't get them. He's too young. My parents will very definitely not that one. I did not get the adult references at the time. I certainly do. Rewatching this,
Yes.
and I'm like, how did they get away with this?
But if you want to check out this cartoon for yourself, folks, the first episode sort of follows the plot line
Yeah,
of the film, but it's obviously filtered through a child.
it's filtered through. It is.
King of the first episode. If you want to check this out, it's on Amazon Prime, all 13 episodes, the full first season. But I found something out today, a little bit of trivia that I was like, oh my God, I did not know that. The very first episode of the Toxic Crusaders was written by none other than sitcom king himself, Chuck Lorre. of The Big Bang Theory and Roseanne fame. He wrote
I have
the first
seen
episode. I
his
was
name
like,
pop up.
no way. Like,
Yeah,
my brain never connected that though. Like, he did episode one. So,
it's a bit like you mentioned with the films, like we've got Lemmy, you've got a certain adult selection
mhm.
turning up. You got there's and you mentioned the other trivia, James Gunn.
Yes, James Gunn. This is a part of trivia. It's kind of a big chunk of trivia. James Gunn got his start in Hollywood working with Lloyd Kaufman at Troma. The first big film he did was Romeo and Juliet, and he pops up in the Toxic Avenger 4 as sort of a Stephen Hawking parody type, maybe.
Yeah, it's a character. It's a
Yeah,
total character of that.
but the funny little thing is, and this is the big part of the trivia, is as a thank you to basically having the career that he's got
Yeah.
in a lot of James Gunn's films, Lloyd Kaufman makes a cameo somewhere, and I pointed out to Jimmy, sirens again. I do apologize.
They've come to get you, Violet.
Yes, you're too late. I'm already in hell. It's just adjacent to Stapenal. Anyway, I lost my train of thought due to that.
It's God.
What was I saying?
Eternal in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, Lloyd Kaufman actually turns up in Guardians of the Galaxy in the prison scene when they first come in the first film. All the prisoners are leaning over and booing and throwing things at him. Lloyd Kaufman is right in the middle, small little dude, grey hair, balding head, and he's full on over exaggerating, boo, boo. And he's also the guy that Rocket Raccoon steals the robot leg from.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's just a bit of trivia
So
for
many
you.
people got their
So,
start.
let's quickly and finally, as our final bit of the show, we're going to talk about the upcoming remake starring Peter Dinklage, Kevin Bacon, Elijah Wood, and a few others. Now, this has been a remake that's taken a very, very long time to get going. There's been so many directors and cast gone through this thing before it finally got made and is now getting a release. That I was always unsure about how I would feel about a remake. And then when it was announced that, yes, Peter Dinklage, fantastic actor, Game of Thrones, few other things, he's an absolutely fantastic, phenomenal actor. When it was announced that he was playing Toxie and they showed the teaser trailer with him coming through the door holding the mop, I was like, wait, he's now
He's no longer
um
superhuman
I'm not
science.
I'm not sure how I feel about it. But with the trailer dropping recently, and I got to see a bit more of what this film is offering, I have a feeling it's one of those remakes that is kind of remake in name and theme only, and they've just done their own
Yeah.
story to this film, or taken their favorite elements of the original and just done their own thing with it. But the one thing I do like in the trailer is it shows you Toxie. And for me, it's that almost perfect blend of the first original film
Yeah.
and the cartoon.
Yeah.
Because he's got the saggy down eye and the messed up bald head and everything with all lumps and bumps and everything. But he's green and he's got like the orange spots and patches here and there. And that to me evokes the cartoon look. So I
Yeah.
think this is very much, it's just took everything we like, put it in a blender and done its own thing. And if that's the case, I'm very much looking forward to it. Because the last thing I kind of wanted was a scene for scene remake of the original.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that would not have been entertaining to me. It's time now that if we're gonna go back to Toxie and back to Tromaville, if it's even still called Tromaville, I don't know the full details.
Don't know that yet.
We don't even know if his name's gonna be Melvin or not. You know, there's very little story details, but if it's just going to tell its own story, do its own wacky, crazy thing in the spirit of Troma,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm all for this return to practical effects, driven gore fest B movie-esque thing. And we talked about this in previous episodes, Jimmy. I think you and Callie probably talked about this.
Yeah.
Where instead of remaking beloved big budget Hollywood classics,
Yeah.
go back and remake some of these low budgety movies that
Yeah,
were
go and
held
find
back by their
films
budget.
either
That's
flopped
this
or
feels
low budget or whatever. There's a bunch of material there, like dust it off,
yeah,
tidy it up.
to me, this is what I kind of wanted from remaking a low budget B movie. You
Yeah,
take what was great about the original and throw more money at it to make it the
yeah.
film that they
It should have been almost.
then. Yeah, like just it help the true vision of what that film was supposed to be back then, but they couldn't because of the budget. Help them actually realize that now with the budget and the CG and all the shit that's out there that you can throw at it to make it the best version of that film.
Yeah,
Please do that. Please more of that. I'd like to
do
see
more.
more. In fact, I'd
As
like
daft as
more
it is,
trauma remakes. I'd like to see more trauma remakes. I'd like to see a trauma parody-esque MCU thing going on where they've done the Toxic Avenger. The next they do Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, and right at the end
yeah,
have them show up like team up to us like we're putting a team together.
yeah.
Go
No,
on.
that as
Have it, go
daft as
on to, have it then go on to become a live-action Toxic Crusaders movie. Do
as daft as
it.
as daft as it is.
The Tromaverse. Do that.
Having watched, yeah, as daft as it is, watching the fourth film, I'm kind of interested in watching Sergeant Kabuki Man just to see what
Yeah,
it's like. I want to know a little bit more about that cat because in four, he's this sort of on the back end of his career, drunkard,
downturn. He's on a downturn.
downturn for definite folks. When you watch the film, it is a bit laughable. Obviously, he's got his own film, so I'm tempted to check that out
It
and have a look.
is worth watching. Sergeant
Roll
Kabuki
the
Man
punches.
NYPD is definitely worth it.
And this film, I've seen the trailer to this, and I saw it, and I thought, are they going the cartoon route? Because obviously, I love the cartoon originally,
Yeah,
and
that feel that it's a
like
bit
they're going that way.
with the green skin and the look of Toxie in this one. It does invoke more the cartoons in the original film, but
Yeah,
I'm okay with that because I love the cartoon as well. So
yeah. I'm also kind of hoping that in like, even though it's been made by somebody else,
yeah,
they do give the reference back to Choma and roll with that, with especially with considering Peter Dinklage's physical size and attribute.
yeah, but
And
I think
the
that in
description of
itself,
Toxie normally.
I think that in itself is meant to be a joke about the film. It's like
Yeah.
they could have cast some big body buildery type because apparently Arnold
And as we
a
know,
long
they
time
they
ago
did.
when they first wanted to remake it in like 2010,
Yeah.
Arnold was approached to play Toxie and he was interested in the idea because he liked the film. So, I mean, they could have gone that route and just done big beef bodybuilder type and have him play Toxie. But in a weird way, I think that's right on point with Trauma that they go the opposite way.
So yeah.
They give you a diminutive actor, a little person actor
Very good
play this
actor,
part of
no,
Toxie
right.
and have him kicking ass like he did in. I think there's going to be something quite comical about someone like Peter Dinklage picking up a full-size person and throwing them around like they're a rag doll. Again, it's on point with Trauma. That for me works now. Like I was apprehensive at first, but looking at it deeper, I'm like, I can see the joke here.
Yeah.
No, you're expecting this big, powerful, mop-wielding superhero, and in comes little tiny Toxie with his big.
That's the other thing I'm also interested in seeing, because in this particular, with the trailer, this particular mop has also been infused.
Yeah, so is it going to
Similar
be
to way
like
the
cartoon?
cartoon was infused.
Yeah, is it going to be? Is the mop going to become its own character?
Yeah.
I want to see this film purely because from what I've seen, it looks like it's a good remake. So that's it. That is our final thoughts. That's the Toxic Avenger / Crusader covered. We're much anticipating the remake.
Please
So
excuse tech difficulties
please
today.
excuse the tech difficulties and audio glitches. We will try and iron them out for next time.
The heat and the heat and the popo have been in full force.
Yeah, it's been one of those nights, folks. One of those nights. But we are going to say goodnight right here. So say goodnight, Jimmy.
Good night, Jimmy.
And good night, my sweet tortured souls. And remember, if you can't be good, be twisted. Don't get mad, baby. Get sadistic. Love ya. See you in the next episode.